And welcome to another episode of Experts Speak. I am Michael DeLon. Today I am talking with Christopher Filipiak. Christopher, thank you for spending some time with me today, man.
Hey, Michael, it's so good to be here today. Thanks so much for having me on the show. I'm looking forward to an amazing conversation together.
Well, brother, you are welcome. It is going to be an amazing conversation because we are going to be talking about something that I think a lot of people have misconceptions about. They've had bad blood, they don't know how to get over it, and that's the whole concept of selling and sales and in business. And it's one of those things that we have to have, but we always want somebody else to do it. And I can't wait to have the conversation to help people understand. No, it's really not what it used to be because it has so much more to do with some other things that we're going to dive into. So that's the context today. But tell me, Christopher, before we get into all of that, how in the world did you get doing what you're doing today?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm looking forward to having the conversation on sales because you're absolutely right. A lot of people are totally out of alignment when it comes to
Mhm.
sales. So, um, I was born and raised and grew up just outside of Detroit in Michigan, right?
Yeah,
And fell in love with cars, was good at math, so went to the University of Michigan to
yeah.
study engineering, got a job at Ford Motor Company building F-150s and
Oh, cool.
Mustangs. Really studied industrial and operations engineering, which is the science of people and machine systems and how to
Oh,
integrate those together. That's
okay.
mostly what I did for them. But it was interesting. I'd always have my performance evaluations, and I was a top engineer there, but I always said I want to be with the people and the money, right?
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
my engineering managers were like, I don't know what that means. I was like, I don't know what that means, but that's where I want to be with the people and money. So decided it was too cold in Michigan and back to school to grab my MBA.
Yep.
Moved to North Carolina, went to school, graduated at the top of my class from Wake Forest and took a job at a marketing and analytics and software consulting firm selling into Fortune 500 companies. Um, Worked for them for several years and then took a job at a startup firm here in Asheville, North Carolina. That didn't go super well. I wanted to do business development for them. They thought they didn't need business development. And so
Yeah.
we parted ways. And in 2017, I started my own firm, and the way I got started was I just went around to all the CEOs that I knew and said, "Hey, can I sell for you on a fractional basis?" Right? I called
Hmm.
it business development as a service
Right.
time. And two things I learned from those first couple of years in business doing business development as a service
Yeah.
was how to sell from multiple companies at the same time. So building up my own systems and expertise to allow me to make sales really efficiently.
Right.
Two, how I was able to outperform the internal sales teams, mostly due to lack of systems within the businesses I was selling for something off being fundamentally off. So I switched into helping companies build out their sales teams and systems. I had good
Mhm.
luck with building out their systems, didn't do so good on the sales team
Right.
side,
Mm-hmm.
which was kind of an interesting data point. Started to study mindset, was like, oh, this is cool, right?
Yeah.
Started to bring that into my engagements with my clients, coaching on mindset. And then right after COVID, I did some contract work for a much larger consulting firm. And so within the period about a year, I was under the hood of over 100 professional services businesses, agencies, consulting firms, recruiting firms, doing deep dive sales ops assessments,
Mm-hmm.
and then writing scaling roadmaps for all of those businesses. And what I noticed is that the majority of those CEOs wanted to add revenue, and their strategy was to hire salespeople, and they ended up firing 3.25 salespeople on average, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
at a cost of like $450,000 per failed
Yeah.
salesperson, like
Yeah.
super expensive. Um, and as I wrote the pro formas, I started to look at the amount of revenue they wanted to add, right? And I was like, oh shit, you just want to add, two clients a month, one, two clients a month. It was going to get you to your goal. Some firms more, some a little less, but um, I was like, man, you should just do that yourself as a CEO. Like you can
Yeah.
start doing that today, right? No
Yeah.
ramp up, no 6 month ramp up to onboard, train, coach up a salesperson. Um, and so I took all of that experience, from that systems lens, started to put a framework together that I call a sales ready organization,
Mm-hmm.
focus my business around supporting CEOs to succeed at their own sales work. And there's a lot of resistance there, Mike.
Oh yeah.
We can talk about
Right.
that.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, wrapped my business around that because I really think, with or without a sales team, the CEO should be involved in business development, doing sales work. I'm working with a company right now that's a $200 million organization. The CEO still does sales for
Yeah.
that firm, right? Still can drive revenue just like that. But those humans need some support, and they
Yeah.
also need someone who has expertise, who's been under the hood of hundreds and hundreds of businesses and sales, built out sales operations, who can look at their stuff and go, you can stop doing that. Let's add listen, right? And bringing
Yeah.
in that engineering expertise from my days at Ford,
Right.
going, here's how we actually design a system that creates an outcome that you want. And here's
Yeah.
how we go ahead and improve that. So that's how I got to the point that I am
That's
today.
awesome. I love that story. I love thinking about making Mustangs and taking those out for test drives, maybe. Um, so I love systems. That's one of my words that I teach my clients is systems. I always tell them profit doesn't drive a business.
Yeah.
Systems do. And what I find is many entrepreneurs don't have systems in, well, anything, finance, marketing, sales in particular. We just, dude, I mean, I'm a good salesperson. I can talk to people. I don't need a system. And as the CEO, I've in a sense taken that, I'm a follower of Christ. So you go through the Bible and you see Pilate talking with Jesus, right? And Pilate gets to the point and he says, "Okay, dudes, I'm wiping my hands of this guy. He's on your head." And I think CEOs get to that point of trying to be Pilate to go, "No, I've done my time. I run the business." Let's talk about that and why that shouldn't be the case.
Yeah. I think I I've moved away from the business of delivery or building team or building out systems for other
Mm-hmm.
areas of the business.
Yeah.
Okay. Exclusively focused on revenue and adding sales. So you have to ask yourself as a CEO, what do you think your job actually is? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And I think it's a couple things. The management books will tell you it's to hold the vision for the organization or build the business for the organization. I think the other thing is to build team. But I
Yeah.
think above both of those, I think you are most responsible for driving revenue for your firm or your business. I think that's job number one,
Yep.
right? However you want to do that, you need to be driving revenue for your
Yeah.
firm. And I think if you think that's not the case, I think you're setting strategy from a place of fear,
Yeah.
right? And you're
Yeah.
going, hey, I don't actually want to do that because it's uncomfortable,
Yeah.
right? I can't tell you the number of CEOs, and the easiest way to get at this and know is like, hey, I want you to make cold calls today. I want you to do
Mm-hmm.
10 cold calls every day. If there's any resistance going on, they're setting strategy from a place of fear instead of
Mm.
a place of truth and cause and effect. And that's why so many CEOs want to hire sales teams, is because they don't like doing it.
Right.
And it's like, it's all we're here to do as a business. And it's the
Mm-hmm.
only thing that moves money
You're right.
in the business. So, um, I think it's the number one thing. It doesn't mean
Yeah.
you can't stand up a sales team and that you have to be on doing sales 8 hours a day.
Right.
I think it's something you should absolutely master
Mm-hmm.
as the CEO, founder, owner of your business. And when
Yeah.
I say master, you have the ability to create whatever amount of money you want whenever you need it, and there's no resistance to doing whatever sales
Right.
thing is
Yeah.
required.
So let's get into that mindset a little bit because
Yeah.
I think you're right. But if it's going back to the concept, the terminology selling. I'm going to make 10 cold calls and I'm going to sell somebody today
Mhm.
versus I'm reaching out to find opportunities of where I can serve somebody and
Yeah.
find that right fit client. Oh, I mean, talk about that mindset. What do you
Okay.
find? Just go.
Okay. So people are all messed up about sales.
Yeah.
Okay. I get it. Right. Because what are we dealing with in sales? We're dealing with two things that we're taught are bad as children: strangers
Yeah.
and money.
Yeah.
Those two things from a very young age were programmed 0 to 7, programmed evil, root of all evil,
Yeah.
stranger danger.
Yeah.
Right. Um, so many stories you could list, like we could sit here and list off 50 money stories.
Yeah.
Rich people are bastards, right?
Yeah.
So there's this whole language around money. And if you go and you look at the definition of what sales actually is, it says it's basically the exchange of goods or services for money. That's it.
Yeah.
It's like there's nothing, it has no meaning,
Right.
Michael. Sales
Right.
has no meaning. It's just simply the exchange of goods or money, or the exchange of goods or services for money. And then if you look at the definition of money, what is the definition of money? It's a tool for exchange. It's a medium of exchange. That's it. It's a tool to be used
Yeah.
or to be exchanged. And I think that's where so many of the stories, so you have to look at what your own internal state is, what your own mindset is when it comes to money. And as a business owner, what your mindset and your belief is around sales. You
Mm-hmm.
know, a lot of people show up in this, what I'll call this get energy. I have to get money, right? I have
Right.
to get people to know, like, and trust me. I have to get value and rapport, right? And it's
Yeah.
all coming from, I have to close the deal. I have to get. It comes through
Yeah.
the real, um, get energy. And one of the things that I teach my clients is that sales is an act of love or an expression of love, and you're there to give. Like I show up, sure, I get paid, right?
Yeah.
But I give my clients money. Every sales call that I'm showing up on, I'm like, "Oh, I'm here to give you money."
Right.
It's
I
not
love it.
the other way. It's not the other way
Yeah.
around. And then the last piece, kind of to close out the loop on that, like once you understand what sales is and what money is and how to create whatever money it is you actually want when you want it, um is to just understand how to do that. Like, how do you actually be a sales ready organization? And when it comes to sales, like sales is actually really simple. It's two things. It's creating conversations and having conversations, and those are skills that anybody can learn.
I
That
love it.
it's like I need money, my business needs money. I need to go and figure out, well, you know where the money is. It's in the hands of other people. You
That's
need to
right.
figure out how to move it from their hands to your hands. That's
Yeah.
the flow. That's money's job, is to exchange, to go in and out, infinite resource. And you do that by sales. It's a skill of sales. And the skill of sales is super simple: creating and having conversations. There's
Conversation.
some other little fundamental, you got to have an offer, you got to have a
Right.
market, you got to have a message, though you got to have those systems pieces in place.
Mm-hmm.
Sales is a system of systems, so you have to build a complete race car,
That's
right?
right. I like it. Yeah.
Right. But other
Yeah.
than that, that's the truth.
It is, and it's conversations, and I love that one. Someone I heard this years ago, and I'm not sure who it was, but they said the basic fundamental need of the human is they want to be heard and understood. And I think so many times we approach sales from that old school is oh, I've got one now, and what's my flow chart to make sure that you always say yes to the right questions and end up with right. And it's not that; it's a conversation to go okay, what's going on? What are you trying to make happen? Am I a good fit? I was on a sales call yesterday, and at the end of the call, I said, I can't help you. I am not. I what you want and what you need for your business, I do not deliver. And so, if I can find somebody, I will connect you. But I cannot help you because I'm not trying to get suck money out of a turnip or whatever it was, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to serve you, and that's came through a conversation. And you know what? We left that conversation on great terms, and we said, hey, let's stay connected. Maybe down the road we can help each other. I just can't do what you're wanting done, and it would be wrong for me to try to sell you something, and we'd both be disappointed.
Yeah,
But that came through a conversation, right?
for sure. That's
Talk,
where the money's at.
and that's where the money is. You have this phrase of simplifying sales or making sales simple, how to close more deals with less stress. Let's tap on that, because I think when just the name, we're going to have a sales meeting. Oh, no, not another one of those.
Yeah.
Talk about
Yeah.
how do you simplify sales?
Yeah. So I'm an industrial, like I mentioned in my intro, I'm an industrial engineer,
Yeah.
right? On machine systems. And one of the main thing that we focused on in at Ford was this idea of reducing waste, right? So how
Yeah.
can we look at a system? What's the value stream map, and how do we take out anything that is wasteful or doesn't create in the most linear way good F-150s and Mustangs, right?
Right. Yeah.
Sales is the same. Like you design a process, right? Whether it's a process to create conversations, marketing, or a process to have conversations, sales,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, and the way you simplify it is by understanding the cause and effect relationship between what it is you want and the causes of what create that effect, right? So if sales, ice cream, pepperoni pizzas, friends, sex, right? Feeling good, sleep, whatever, they all have cause and effect relationships, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you have to understand the cause. So, as far as I know, the causes are typically three things. It's what's going on in here, your
Mm-hmm.
mindset, right?
Yeah.
It's your strategies and tactics in your activity, right? So, the way you simplify it is you go, I want money, or I require money to do things in my business, right? That's the result. That's what I want. Okay, what are the causes that are going to create that? All right. One, mindset. What is going on in my head? Am I clear on what I want? Am I making a decision? Am I showing up with confidence and from a place of value and a sales as an expression of love, energy? Cool.
Yeah.
Do that every time. You're going to make more money
Yeah.
more quickly. You're going to I don't love this term, but you're going to be aware of opportunities to solve bigger problems, bring more money in faster. You're going to raise your prices. You're going to just be more valuable. That's the first way, mindset. The second way is strategy and tactics. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I love that you help people write books, Michael, but like writing a book is not the fastest path to money, right?
Right.
Have building your website, working on your brand, cleaning your living room, doing your dishes. Fastest path to money is to have sales conversations with other people. So that's the second way is understanding that um, I want to simplify sales. All I'm doing is creating and having sales conversations. So I need two skills. How do I create conversations? And do I know how to have conversations?
Yeah.
When I work with people on their sales conversations and you listen to the conversation, they add so much in to the conversation and I'm like, you don't have to do that.
Yeah, that's right.
Don't add things in. And then the third way, the third thing is activity. Okay. Um, and if you want to simplify your sales and not waste a lot of time, do sales every day. You don't grow a tomato seed by putting the seed in the ground, taking it out and checking it and waiting. So don't let that momentum,
Yeah.
John Maxwell talks about how important momentum is every day. I'd rather see you do 30 minutes 5 days a week than 8 hours on a Friday. It's
Right.
going to serve you way, way better. So if you do those things and you think through that lens of cause and effect, um, you're going to simplify your sales process. The other way to do it, and whether it's me or someone else, is to work with someone who's done this, who's built out sales operations hundreds of times
Yeah.
and can look at your system. And I think, like I said, I think of it through this lens of waste. And a lot of the ways I save my clients time, hundreds and thousands of hours of wasted time, is I just look at their system and I go, you can stop doing this, 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 and this,
Yeah.
not a direct cause of what it is you
Right.
want. And you're picking things based on whatever's going on in your own mindset.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and you're not following a system. Most of them, I dare I say, probably don't even have a system. They
Yeah.
might have some things they do, but it's not codified. right? To say from A to Z, here's our sales process, including marketing, offer, all of that. Here's what our conversations look like. Dare I say, when was the last time you actually listened to one of your sales calls? I'm not talking to you, Christopher. I'm talking to the audience, right? That's why I love Zoom and I use Fathom recording, right? I will go back and I will listen to my sales calls. And yeah, 6 months ago, I was that guy who was adding so much. And I was in a program, and one of the guys that I was practicing with, he's like, dude, you're confusing. I don't have a clue what you're trying to sell. Really? And so I've pivoted everything, right? And it's shocking to me how little I talk now. And on Zoom and Fathom, they will give you the percentage of how much you talked versus how much the other person talked. It was scary. But
Hmm.
what I find is that I was, as I call it, wasting sales, right? I was overloading people with information. They didn't need that. They had a problem. I had an opportunity. And as soon as they said yes, I should have shut up and moved on. But I like my stuff way too much, Christopher. You really need to know how cool it is. Cause the wheels on this Mustang and the leather interior. I don't care. I just want to get in and go.
Yep.
But that's part of mindset. It's part of strategy, but it's also part of there wasn't a really good system. And I think I was uncomfortable, not confident in my ability. And I thought I had to keep adding value and value and value stacking. And
Yeah.
speak to that.
Yeah, that's that get energy. That's that proving energy instead of like you're like, man, I have to like, oh, we could talk for another, the rest of the day on this, but it's coming from this place of lowered self-worth.
Yeah.
Instead of you showing up already deciding you're good enough, you're worthy, you love the shit out of yourself, and you're actually
Yeah.
here to just help the other person instead
Yep.
of like, I have to get them to like me, I have to get them to know me, I have to get those things happen, but they don't happen. I don't think I don't think the best way to sell expert services and consulting services is to value stack by thinking something
Right.
up in the lab and then going, here, here. The people you're selling to are overwhelmed. They're
Yeah.
overloaded. Listen to the Balance podcast you guys did last week. They're overloaded.
Yeah.
Right? The best way to help someone is to know how to have a sales conversation. The
Yeah.
conversation itself is where the value is. And what you're doing in that conversation is helping bring clarity to a confused mind. And if you can do that in the conversation, dude,
You're
you're
done.
all the value you need. You just need to know how to talk to
Yeah.
other people, and we
Yeah.
know how to do it. We're humans. Like we've just forgotten because of all the
I'll be,
programming that we've had.
yeah.
And just to touch on the systems, and this is why the sales ready organization framework is so important. You basically like I love the race car analogy because I'm a car guy, but ultimately because it works really well, like you have three parts of the system, right? You have the car. So you
Mm-hmm.
need to build the race car. That's the sales ready organization. You have the driver. That's the
Right.
CEO or whoever and you need to build them up in here because of
Yeah.
the things we've been talking about. And what's the last thing you have? You basically have a pit crew or
Right.
leadership who can help support the car every lap and somebody
Right.
in your corner. And that those again, those are kind of the pieces of the system. And if any one of those pieces are missing, you don't win races. You don't
You
make
don't.
deals, right? So you need some expertise, someone who can come in and go, okay, these are the right pieces. Otherwise, you spend years, right, building out pieces and going through a lot of trial and error and
Yeah.
wasting a lot of time when you could
Yeah.
just be making sales so you have more cash in your business so you can hire the experts you need and
Right.
make mistakes faster.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And
it.
that's no, you said something really good right there, and I want to go back to it because yeah, I told this prospect yesterday that I told you I wasn't right for. I said, what you need is you need to hire somebody who can get appointments on your calendar so you can have conversations and make sales and gain revenue. And
Yeah.
and she's sitting and she's like, yeah, no, I know that. I said, you don't need marketing strategy. You don't need more. You just that's what you need. And I think so many times in business we think marketing, which I love marketing. I love sales. I love conversations. I love all of that to go. I, nothing happens until we make a sale at the end of the day, right? But it's a byproduct of relationship, of hearing, of saying, okay, Christopher, I see where you are. And if I heard you right, this is what you're looking. Is that right? Okay. I think I've got something to help you. You want to look at that? And then we just walk down the pathway. And if I'm, if I have the right fit and I'm hearing you properly, a sale takes place. But it comes through relationship. This is not rocket science, people. It is building cars. Talk about how does somebody work with you? What do you do when you have an entrepreneur, business owner? They're wanting to grow, to scale. They're wanting to make more sales, really. How do you work with them? What's the process? Is it a short term, long term? I mean,
Yeah, so my business is fairly simple. There's basically four components. The first is a sales ready organization assessment and roadmap so that I can say you can stop doing this, this, and this, and
uh,
this is what's working, this is what's missing, this is what needs improvement. And then once we kind of have that clarity, um, it's about doing the three things. It's about building the sales ready organization, so building the race car. It's
yeah,
about coaching the driver, coaching the CEO
yeah,
to help them, and then it's about supporting them on a daily basis to do to do sales activity. So with all of my engagements, it's always assessment and roadmap, project work, mostly around, go to market, sales operations, revenue enablement. It's mindset coaching and it's daily selling support for the CEO.
yeah,
Because it's hard for those humans to do all that's required. They have other things going on, but it
yeah.
helps. CEOs are notoriously inconsistent with their sales activity, and so
Mm-hmm.
they just need a pit crew in there, someone
Right.
helping them on a consistent basis. So
Yeah.
do that every day for my clients. And if someone wants to get in touch with me,
Yeah.
I'm on LinkedIn, Christopher Filipiak, and then at my website, christopherfilipiak.com. It's interesting, because I work with people on sales. You can book two types of conversations with me, introductory conversation, but I actually call my discovery conversation a sales conversation because I think it's just important to be authentic and transparent. And there's nothing wrong with
Yeah.
having a sales conversation. So I try not to manipulate, right? Which is the
Yeah.
problem with a lot of the old school books. It was a lot of manipulation. And then anytime, and basically what that means is anytime you're changing your behavior, get
Mm-hmm.
an outcome, you're manipulating yourself and trying to manipulate the other person,
Yeah.
and just don't avoid that. Like they're sales conversations. They're
Yeah.
not discovery
That's
conversations.
right. Yeah.
They're sales
No. Yeah.
conversations. Come on,
At the
that's
end of the day,
yeah.
yeah. Hop on because I really hope that we transact some money here at the end of this if I can help you. And when you can relax, when you have the right mindset, you've got a good process, you know the value that you're bringing to the table. You can have that conversation and handle any objections. And sometimes people just aren't ready. That's okay. I get a lot of people who say, "Man, God, this is great. This is not the right time for whatever reason." It's all right. I mean, I could go into the old school and say, well, let's talk about that. And let's do, I could. Or I can just say, that's okay. I'm going to be here.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
what happens is a few months later, they come back because I've listened, I've heard, I've understood. We had a conversation. I'm a good guy. All of that wrapped in together is sales. And I love, Christopher, how I love how you've um, formulated this. Kind of like, Formula One. Huh. Your assessment, your roadmap, that's the first thing is saying, here's what you need to stop doing. Just stop. Here's what you need to be doing. We're going to help you build the race car. I'm going to train the driver. I'm going to be your pit crew or support your pit crew. And yeah, sales is if you took your closing ratio from 20% to 25%, just that by working with Christopher, you're going to solve a lot of issues because you're going to go, wow. And then you go from 25 to 30 and 30 to 40. And pretty soon you and your sales team, I got an email today from one of my clients and he's used his book in his marketing to precondition people to build trust before he ever meets with them. He emailed me yesterday. He says, Michael, about 70% of the people I hand my book to, I give my book to, I close.
Mhm.
I thought, that's a pretty good thing because he still has conversations with him, but he understands the importance of trust, that when they walk in the door, they still have questions. He still has conversations, but it's not. So anyway, what you do is so cool because not a lot of people do it. And it's not a, um, oh, dare I say, an off the shelf, memorize these scripts and go. And that's not sales. That's old school. And so I'm going to grab your LinkedIn, your website, Christopher, and get them in the show notes to make sure our audience can reach out. Just go follow Christopher and have a sales call with him and see what it's like, because I think you're going to walk away from that going, wow, that's probably not what I thought it was going to be. But increasing your sales percentage is the fastest way to generate more revenue in your business, period. There's a lot of things you can do to help that. But if you're not good at selling and you're not looking at your calls and your percentages and your team and your car and all that, you're just throwing money out the door, honestly. So I said that, Christopher didn't, so it's okay. Christopher, man, thank you. Thanks for being my guest today. Thanks for doing what you do. It's really, I love how you've structured. I love the car framework. I used to be a mechanic years ago, so I love cars too. Um, but you're taking, I think, some of the fear and some of the mystery out of sales and say, here's, do this. Let me help you figure out the right system, make some connections, have some conversations, do it the right way, and you're going to have a car that's going to win more races. Fair?
Totally fair. Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Christopher Filipiak, thank you for being here today. I'm going to grab all your stuff, put it in show notes. Reach out to Christopher, follow him on LinkedIn, but go have a sales call with him and see how he can help you get your business to become a sales ready organization. Thanks for listening to Experts Speak, and tune in again next week for another great episode. Take care. God bless.